Thank you all so much for being here to celebrate with us. I'm the proudest mum in the world today, I really am. I have to say there were times when Alfie was growing up where I worried he'd never... No, too much. That first secondary school he went to when he was 11, that's when the worry started. I knew by then he saw things differently, but it didn't cause him any real trouble until we sent him out into the big wide world. Deep down, I think I knew it was a mistake to send him to that school. But I figured one school's much like another. One way or another, he's got to navigate the change. I didn't exactly sweep it all under the carpet, but I think I figured I'm a paediatric nurse. I've got all the bases covered. Because he taught us how to make things easier for him. We had the big whiteboard in the kitchen with his schedule for the week, and we'd finally sussed he had dyslexia, even though he always had his head in a book. I had no idea. I thought it was just about words being jumbled on the page. He's so clever, and he never shuts up, bless him. I thought I'd know straight away if something was really wrong. I went to the head before he started first term and I said, look, I don't want to get into a debate about an official diagnosis or where he is on the spectrum. I just want you to know that he needs to get his head round things in his own way. But he's bright and he's sociable and he's so much fun. He'll be fine, she said. We've got systems in place. I think she thought I was overreacting and it got a bit strained. And I ended up telling her about, oh God, I don't know why my mind picked this one, but he was 5 at the time and I was upstairs pulling poo out of Tilly's bum. She was backed up and not happy. Yeah, a fun morning right from the off. And Alfie's running around with no clothes on and Tilly's screaming her head off. Well, you would, wouldn't you? She was only 1 by then. And I said, Alfie, we've got to pick Nanny Pat up in half an hour. Will you put some pants on, please? And he wasn't remotely interested. And I lost my rag and I shouted. And I knew I'd upset him, but sometimes you just have to put your foot down. Anyway, he runs out to his room and I've finally got Tilly cleaned up and I say, have you put your pants on, young man? And he shouts back, yes. And I hear him giggling and I brace myself to give him another what for, because I know when he's lying. And he comes in and I told myself, don't laugh because it'll only encourage him. So I bit my lip and I did a mock scowl. He's standing there, still naked, with his hands on his hips and his Batman pants on his head. And I said, desperately trying not to crack, I told you to put your pants on. And he grins and he says, I did. I've just put them on my head instead of my bum. And I couldn't help myself, and we both laughed at the same time. Cheeky little sod. And I told her that's the way he sees the world, from a slightly different perspective. That can actually be a lot more fun if you just roll with it. She laughed, but I think she was a bit irked by the poo pulling. I thought, you're a headmistress. I'm sure you've seen your fair share of shit. But whatever. In hindsight, I should have gone with my gut about her. First day, he comes back and he's crying, and he's got ketchup in his hair. Second day, his PE kit gets thrown in the pond, and I feel this creeping dread. And I thought, one more thing. Third day, he's just really quiet, but he didn't say anything bad happened. But still, I said to Tom, we've made a mistake. It's too big a change. It's only been 3 days. He's got to get used to them. They've got to get used to him. All the kids are in the same boat in the same week, he said. I remember thinking, I don't have the energy for another argument about tough love, how his mum and dad brought him up. But I reasoned he does have a point. It will get easier. Then Tilly comes in, and says, "Why has Alfie hurted his arm?" And I felt sick. I went upstairs and he was asleep, and I felt under the covers and he was clinging to an open paperclip. And I wanted to kill someone for a second. I cleaned the scratches up as best as I could so as not to wake him. I stayed with him all night, scrunched up against the wall, crick in my neck. I kept thinking, I should wake him, bandage them properly, but they looked worse than they were, and he was clinging to me so tight. I got no sleep, which didn't help my mood for the next day. Me and Tom agreed we'll give them one more chance to explain what the hell went wrong and to do something about it. Tom took the day off work to stay with Alfie, and I walked into the head's office determined to stay calm, but my blood was up. Before she even had the chance to explain anything, I let rip. I said, "You do not have this under control. Less than a week, and my joyful, gorgeous boy, 11 years old, self-harming. You promised he would have a mentor and a buddy, that he'd never be on his own. You said this school had zero tolerance for bullying and prides itself on being progressive and inclusive. You've let him down." I decided in that moment, when she just stared back at me confused, that I was done, that he wasn't coming back, and I could have quite happily just stormed out after saying my piece. But she had to say it, didn't she? "I'm sorry you feel that way." I sat Tom down that night and I said, "Look, the house repairs, the first family holiday in 5 years, they'll have to wait. I'm not putting him through this. We need to do this right." I never did tell him that I lamped to one, that I had to get escorted off the premises, that for about 3 weeks after I was terrified every time the phone rang. I'm not proud of myself, but I'm still not sorry. He didn't pry. I think he felt guilty too, that he hadn't seen it coming. We found a Christian school in the end that had limited resources, shall we say, but low fees, and only 40 kids in his year group, and I liked the head right away because he said, "We like to see our little people as individuals, not statistics." And I just knew that he got it. I had to have a little chat with Alfie, who had been adamant he was an atheist since age 7, and we agreed that whatever he believed was fine, but it would be better not to bring it up at school because it's personal, isn't it? And we don't want to upset anyone who believes something different. Like when he told Tilly the truth about the tooth fairy and she cried all night. Tom said, "Aren't we just making it worse for him in the end, though, wrapping him in cotton wool?" I said, "No, we're giving him a better chance. The world he's growing up into, it's got a lot wrong with it. But when it comes to being more accepting of the fact that everyone's different and has a right to be included, well, it's getting better. It's just got to catch up with him." And you know what? It didn't matter that their gym had buckets on the floor to catch the rain coming through the roof. It didn't matter that the IT was 20 years out of date. That the parents had to make sports day out of whatever bits and pieces they had gathering dirt in the garden. Because after his first day, I stood waiting at the gate, and he didn't rush out with his head down. He skipped. He skipped to me, and he was beaming. And that was all that mattered. I said to the head, "I'd like him to get a few GCSEs, but honestly, as long as he's happy, I don't care." He got 9 in the end, mostly B's, 2 A's, 1 for drama. His Richard III was a force of nature, and his Guinevere, so nuanced. I was in bits. He failed RE. I suppose that was a bit of karmic justice for our little white lie. I am so proud of him. I could never stop worrying, though. Well, you don't, do you? I would always worry. What if he never finds someone to love him the way he is? What if he's always lonely? Oh God, here we go. I'm getting emotional now. I always do at these things. He sat me down last year and he said, Mum, we've talked about it a lot and we've decided we want the wedding to have a LARPing theme. I said, what's LARPing? And he said, it's when people dress up and pretend they're from the past, like when we go to those Viking reenactments. I said, I hope you're not having a Viking battle at your wedding. And Annie Pat was looking forward to a nice Kaylee. He says, no, think Game of Thrones meets Skyrim. I said, isn't Game of Thrones that one where every time they have a wedding, someone gets poisoned or beheaded? He said, you should be more worried about people turning up half naked and starting an orgy. I said, at least we know Uncle Dave will definitely enjoy it then. He showed me his Tinder profile the other day. Ooh, don't even get me started. I said, you know what? Do whatever you want. It's your day. I'm not sure how well the medieval-style hog roast is going to go down with all his vegan cousins. And I think he's pushing the venue's health and safety protocols by carving up the cake with a life-size replica of Excalibur. But I said, you and your true love do what you love. Keep doing you, Bab. Keep skipping. Right. Here we go. Thank you all so much for being here to celebrate with us.